complicate and may well dominate efforts to address all other global issues. But cities don't just represent concentrations of humanity. They are increasingly global players in their own right, engaging in paradiplomacy as they negotiate city-to-city environmental agreements or lead their federal governments on trade and climate policy. I have two fundamental messages to those who want to work with cities. First, you have to understand cities. Cities are 24/7 service organizations with responsibilities both varied and essential. Many of those responsibilities can neither be delegated nor ended. They can only be improved. For strategic management professionals of the right business, right place, right product mindset, the challenge of working with cities is that the business is defined, the location is static, new product lines are extremely rare, and there's lots and lots of competition. Every city in the world has to provide the same core functions to sustain and protect life. Therefore, most of a city's resources are necessarily focused on operational rather than strategic goals. If you want to enter this market, you have to at least acknowledge the primacy of operational imperatives. Second, cities, for all that their governments are focused on operational details, are ultimately not about systems or models, but are about people and their lives. And nothing is harder to manage and organize than human beings. I believe people move to cities for six reasons. I also believe in alliteration, so stay with me. Those 6 reasons are employment, education, escape, entertainment, emancipation, and engagement. Cities grow when they provide unique opportunities in one or more of these arenas. They thrive when they provide multiples of them sustainably. Too often, the consulting class approaches cities with either cookie-cutter opportunities or views residents as chessmen that can be moved across a board at will or by rote. To be successful in working with cities, you must recognize each as a unique set of circumstances and offer a solution based on the people that city serves. This is, of course, about asking the right questions, understanding the underlying goals, and respecting the individual needs and challenges of the people in that city. You know, we can build beautiful children's playgrounds across a city based on a standard park-to-people formula. Then those playgrounds sit empty because the nearby residents actually wanted a dog park. We can design an elegant and efficient mass transit system, but it's not effective because it isn't used. The failure is in thinking of it as a way to move bodies rather than as a mode of connecting people and creating opportunity. More topically, we can think of migrants as problems to be housed and fed, or as people with skills and abilities waiting to be tapped. The good news is that cities are increasingly led by mayors who understand the need for strategic thinking. The term smart city is coveted. Many cities now have their own offices of innovation or departments of sustainability to bring experts on staff. Most cities are hungry for advice in and on strategic management. One of the main areas on which cities are focused is in resilience, the capacity to recover quickly from disaster or adversity. For modern communities, being resilient means not only bouncing back after a crisis, but anticipating threats and needs, adapting successfully to unexpected challenges, developing the capacity to cope in the immediate aftermath of a natural or man-made disaster. Cities are also laboratories in which the most pressing problems of our time are addressed daily. Dodo mentioned a number of these, but I'm going to throw them out again. Immigration and migration, demographic shifts, legacy debt, income inequality and poverty, education, infrastructure, healthcare, stranded skills and starved jobs, housing, energy, climate change. Of course, business is often wary of engaging with cities. Cities have mountains of responsibility and caverns of accountability. Government spending is wrapped in layers of approval and safeguards to prevent fraud. We create layers of waste in order to prevent waste, and we are aware of this. Decision-making can be maddeningly slow, and there is political risk added to performance risk. It's hard to do business when the CEO churns every 4 years. But cities are where the future of our planet is shaped. No corporate engagement can provide the personal and professional satisfaction of creating something that literally transforms people's lives. A year from now, you're going to be gathering in Houston. Now, every mayor touts their own city's uniqueness, but Houston is an outlier by US standards. We're a city of energy in every sense of that word. We're a high-tech city of medicine and aerospace. We're America's largest export-import port. We're a city of industry with 20% of the US refining capacity. But we're also a city where 1 in 4 residents is foreign-born. Many of our residents speak English barely and only as a second language. We are arguably the most diverse city in the United States. We are unzoned, sprawling, chaotic, and absolutely amazing. I'm going to look forward to welcoming you there in a year, and I look forward to the conversation we're about to have.
Thank you very much. David, would you continue? I think that would fit best now. Yeah?
Thank you very much, Dodo, and to the other organizers for the very kind invitation to come to Berlin. The mayor just told us what her focus is, Mayor Parker. It's all about performance. And that ought to sound familiar. It ought to resonate to those of us here in this room in the Strategic Management Society, because that's probably the key concept that underlines strategy, what brings us all together. Some of the concepts are directly transferable. I mean, we even heard in the Mayor Parker's, albeit brief discussion, but what drives use of lots of things, but you could hear, the resource-based view, the resource, she said 20, I forget the numbers, but there's a lot of energy there, there's a lot of oil. I've been to Houston, I know it. But it's not just that. She said, there's some organizational concepts. You could say it's spatial organization. There's clusters of certain industries she talked about. The concept of corporate culture, that transforms onto, I'm sure she could have, if Dodo had given her more time, a couple hours into to the culture of the city. So right there, it's kind of curious that both scholars of strategy, strategic management, but then places, not just mayors, and she'd probably be the first to say, there are lots of people lots of companies, lots of nonprofits, lots of citizens. People care about Houston. They care about Berlin. They even care about the little town I'm from, Bloomington. They care about the performance. But there's also some key differences. And the key differences probably aren't what you think. The key differences between, I'd say, strategic management of what we think about probably the strategic management of organizations and the strategic management of places, city being probably the most fundamental spatial unit. But I don't think those differences are what you would probably think right away. First of all, performance. You think, do all cities want the same thing? Surely they don't want. They have different performance criteria in mind. Some don't want to grow. Some care very much about the environment. Some care about social inclusion. But you know, it's not so different when you think about organizations or companies. I mean, tomorrow we'll hear the speech by the CEO of Siemens. The performance for Siemens, a publicly held company, is clearly a different criteria, clearly more short-term than, say, by the famous German Mittelstand, or small, medium-sized companies in this country that have a very long-term, very different kind of performance. Yes, performance standards, but not in the same way. Not to mention, say, for high-tech companies, right? I mean, if you look at some of the sexy, jazzy, high-tech companies in this very city that are drawing all kinds of accolades for their performance, they don't even have products yet, and they don't have revenue. That's a different kind of performance criteria. Not to mention social enterprises or social entrepreneurship or nonprofits. So my point is, yeah, there's diversity for performance. That's not what I think the difference is. How about the locus of decision making? You know, you'd think, and the mayor said, well, you know, there's certainly a mayor of cities, but we know in cities, decision making is very diffuse. Who makes decisions on what shapes the competitiveness or performance of place? Lots of different interests, companies, nonprofits, people who get involved. But you wouldn't want to think, as I'm sure the CEO of Siemens will tell us tomorrow, he makes all of the decisions. If anybody knows, it's people in this SMS meeting know that the locus of decision making for strategy is complex and very nuanced and varies a lot across organizational contexts. Well, let me tell you then 3 ways, because I only have a couple minutes, that I think are really different, but they also represent opportunity, I think, for scholars of strategy, strategic management. And one involves, I'd say, well, something that both the mayor of Houston has, Mayor Parker, but also the mayor of Berlin and the mayor of my city, my town of Bloomington, Indiana, is that they're all doing it and none of them studied it. None of them prepared for it. None of them even have a framework to go to. I looked up on Google and saw that Mayor Parker studied, I think, something like anthropology and sociology, something like that, right? Is that kind of close? But she didn't study the strategic management of cities. And I know why she didn't study it. I didn't really notice where she went to college, but wherever it was, they didn't offer that. I know the mayor of Berlin, I know that at Dodo's University, the Technical University of Berlin, it's a great university. They don't offer that. He may offer a course. That's not a major, that's not a program. How about the Free University of Berlin, the Humboldt University of Berlin? There's no frameworks. One thing that the mayor of Berlin does have over Mayor Parker, at least he has a word for it, because in German, there's a word called Standortpolitik, which Dodo would tell you. Standort means place, Politik means policy. And that's what he does. Cities have a mandate to engage in Standortpolitik. What does that mean? Place policy? Well, my translation would be the strategic management of place. So it's